gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to Nerdy for 30, the podcast where comedian Tim Keck and I talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer. Today, we are going to be talking about Black Adam. Now, there's two reasons that you might be tuning into this podcast to hear us talk about Black Adam. The first is you saw the movie and you desperately want for someone to confirm all of the fears and doubts you had about the quality of the movie you saw. The second is that you are on the fence about whether or not you should see the movie and are tuning in to listen to a little bit of this to get a vibe as to whether or not you should see it in theaters, wait for HBO Max. I'm here to tell you, you should wait for HBO Max so you can not watch it there. Tim, do you agree with this statement?
Well, I wait till HBO Max, but then watch it. I think it's watchable. It's surprisingly watchable. I feel like we both flip-flopped on our premeditated feelings of Black Adam, right? Of course.
Premeditated. Elaborate on that. You think I went into this wanting to hate it?
I think initially we were all just like, oh, this is going to suck. This is going to be bad. And then looked at the Rotten Tomatoes score, saw the scores. That was pretty favorable. Saw some reviews, people talking about it, sounded good. And we both started getting our hopes up. We both started getting too excited. Yeah. And I think we both lost sight of what we both knew this was going to be, which is a mediocre movie. What shocked me, Kevin, was the amount of action in this movie, the vast number of fight scenes, and how cool some of this stuff looked. And some of these actors bring it. Hawkman, tons of fun. Pierce Brosnan fucking eats, dude. He's the man. I want more Dr. Fate. If he doesn't get a solo movie, they don't know what the fuck they're doing in the DCU. I guess that's pretty much it. Those guys.
I thought Noah Centineo was good.
He was fine.
I thought he was good, but he was just Tom Holland's Peter Parker. That's all he was. He was just, that's the thing about this movie. It's just a collection of things that worked in other superhero movies, and they've created this weird Frankenstein movie out of these disparate pieces.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like it has a soul of its own.
That was my first thought, is like, they watched a Marvel movie and they tried to make a Marvel movie they just couldn't do it. It felt insincere. It felt fake in a way that Marvel doesn't even feel. Marvel has a way of delivering like hammy lines, but in a way where it's like you're excited about it. Mm-hmm. And in this one, there were so many lines that were supposed to be badass that just like fell completely flat and were so awkward and off-putting, and just the whole thing, the tone was off on all these things. The lead character didn't make any goddamn sense at all. The whole thing was kind of a mess and all over the place, but fun to look at. It was fun to look at. It was shiny. There were fights and things. I guess a good portion of the movie was pretty boring. All the stuff with The Rock interacting with people. But okay, this was the example that popped into my head is where they tried to make it a Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. Is they had music in the movie and they had no idea what to do with the music. They started playing Power, which is like an epic song. I mean, Kanye West, awful guy, terrible human being. That song is one of the most epic songs ever created, right? And if you're going to make the choice to put this song in the movie and then they play it for about 5 seconds, it's insane. What a waste.
I want to clarify, too. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen the movie and you hear Tim saying they play it for 5 seconds, that's not hyperbole. 5 seconds might be longer than they play this song. Like, it's a big music cue. It seems like it's going to underscore an entire fight scene, but the fight scene is immediately finished. I want to come back to that, but I'll let you.
It's the fastest fight scene in the entire movie. It's like they're invading some base. They start playing Power and you're like, fuck, this is going to be sweet. The Rock kills everybody in probably exactly 5 seconds. And then they get to a standoff, which didn't even make any sense, by the way, that standoff. For some reason, this guy lowers the shields so that Black Adam can attack him. I mean, none of it. This whole thing's so stupid. None of it makes any sense. It's all bad and stupid. But I mean, do you want to speak more on like the Marvel element of this? Because we were both picking up on that. This is like a bad impression of Marvel. And I'm sure we're picking up on they were definitely trying to imitate it, right? That's definitely what they were going for.
Absolutely. I think the two big things where that showed itself were, like you mentioned, the music. And that's a common problem for DC movies that was never more obvious than when James Gunn had the Suicide Squad come out last summer, where the first Suicide Squad, it was so clear. It was riding that wave of post Guardians of the Galaxy, where everybody was like, oh, the way we make a strange and fantastic thing more approachable is that we underscore it with top 40 hits, like a classic song, like a karaoke song. And so the original Suicide Squad did that, famously had a studio that's known for cutting trailers cut the final cut of the movie. And because of that, like every 30 seconds in the original Suicide Squad, there's just another classic rock song. It sounds like you put on a movie and then turned on a Pandora radio station, because it's just way too much. Like there's no cohesion to it. There's no rhyme or reason to what songs are being played when. It just feels like a basic misunderstanding of the concept. And then James Gunn came in for the second Suicide Squad, and it's just a James Gunn movie. He knows exactly how to deploy music. We've talked about it on this show before. Yes. We are both of the opinion that, like, in terms of creating a soundtrack, he's one of the best directors working today. I don't think you can argue that. Like, the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack resurrected so many songs. Even Guardians of the Galaxy 2, more people know the song Brandy than I ever would have thought in my entire life. It's
that's
crazy.
A banger.
That
song's a banger.
But like, I didn't think a random person would put it on a karaoke, but it put it back into the public consciousness. So he is like making the best of the global movie platform he has to put out like a really good soundtrack with music that he likes and that really fits the character and fits the tone. Peacemaker, another great example. Like, he just knows how to deploy this stuff. And then in Black Adam, I mean, we're right back to the Suicide Squad. We are right back to the fact that the director recognizes that we need to have these songs in there. I think they all primarily either directly referenced power or had the word black in them.
Yes.
Because Paint It Black was like mixed into an orchestral score during the first like Black Adam fight scene where he wakes up. And I can see where he would think that that did make sense thematically. But the problem is it didn't fit the character. It fit the name of the character.
Right.
And
it was word association.
Yes. Oh my God. Exactly. So like, I mean, the big thing that makes it work for Peacemaker is the fact that it's all this like obscure hair metal that points back to Peacemaker's heyday when he was the coolest guy in high school. And now he's just a washed up loser who's trying to figure out what to do with his life.
I mean, James Gunn puts so much effort and energy into the soundtrack for these things. And I heard this whole thing about how he builds the playlist while he's making the movie. He's listening to it. He takes off songs that are too popular. You know, like even the songs where I'm like, oh yeah, The Chain by Fleetwood Mac. I'm like, that's an absolute banger. I mean, was it top 10 on anybody's? If you're naming songs from Fleetwood Mac before that movie comes out, are you even coming up with The Chain? I don't think so. But now it's like, I can't think Fleetwood Mac without thinking The Chain. So many people have done covers of it. Like he finds these things that are like, it's not top 40, it's like top 100. And they're like on the edge of your brain and you hear it. And there's that moment where you're like, oh, yeah, I love this song. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible. Whereas the rest of the DC universe, this Black Adam thing, they're just like throwing shit out. They're just like, here's a song, here's a pop song. Yeah, the way you described it, where it's like, oh, they just need to find a bunch of top 40 songs and drop them in. It's like, that's the exact opposite of what James Gunn did. Yeah. And that's not really what Marvel does. I mean, the Guardians of the Galaxy stand out, I think, as far as being soundtrack driven, and that's incorporated into the character. So it makes sense. even in Peacemaker, he goes out of his way to actually listen to the music. Yeah. And it has an influence on his character. Like like James Gunn is creating characters who actively like music, you know? Like they're listening to it, they're participating in it. This like resonates with them. So it's describing and fleshing out the character when he plays a song. Playing Paint It Black, playing Power. God, there was another one that was like just so on the nose too. But it's like you could probably come up with it if you're sitting at home listening. Like, oh, I bet they did this. It's like, yes, they definitely did that one too. They do word association for this. Mm-hmm. So the music cue's so terrible. The humor in it too, absurd. I mean, the Rock is the worst actor on planet Earth. Has anyone who's made as many movies as him been as bad an actor? After you'd think by osmosis, you'd think by purely being on a set and talking to other people who think about acting, he would somehow become a better actor. He has lifeless, stilted eyes. He is the most boring human being on the planet. And we've talked about The Rock before. Like, he's best when he's being an ass, or he's like having fun. And he did neither in these movies. Again, The Rock constantly miscasts himself. The Rack. I mean, I'm going to stop calling him The Rock. I mean, he's not The Rock. The Rock was fun to watch. Dwayne Johnson is a fucking snooze fest. He's so goddamn boring. And spoiler alert for the very end of the movie, in a post-credit scene that was spoiled for us, and I will say very anticlimactic in the theater, once Henry Cavill shows up as Superman and you see them standing across from each other, I'm like, this doesn't make any goddamn sense. Henry Cavill is a great actor. Yeah. He's so perfect. I mean, that's S tier casting as Superman. He is phenomenal. He's insane. I mean, I don't love all the Superman movies, but the casting is undeniable and great. And then you turn and for some reason, Dwayne Johnson is there. And it sucks. It fucking sucks. Like, this is such a waste of goddamn time. The power balance of the DCU is about to shift. Fuck off, Rock. Like, stop lifting weights and open a fucking book, take a fucking class, watch a YouTube video on how to act. Do anything, you know? God, he sucks so fucking hard. I'm like, I might be out on The Rock, Kev. I might just be done. 5 years ago, I'm that guy's biggest champion. You know, every time he posts, you know, a cheat day meal on Instagram, I'm there. But then all of a sudden the cheat days start getting a little smaller. It's like 3 pancakes with peanut butter instead of like 5 boxes of pizza. And now he's like, oh, you know, I'm lifting more. I'm working out. I'm doing Black Adam. I'm sucking more at acting. I'm getting worse. It's like, I'm just done. Who cares? Yeah, I have your Under Armour with the fucking Brahma Bull on it, but I'm putting it away, and I'm going to give it away to somebody. I don't want any part of it. I'm out on The Rock. I'm done with The Rock. I'm done. I can't get excited about him anymore. Never again. What would it take for you to get excited about seeing The Rock in a movie? What would it take? What scenario in what scenario could you care about seeing The Rock in anything ever again? WrestleMania, that is it. And even then, he's not going to be fun. He's not going to be talking trash. He's going to be showing up as a fake. I mean, the Black Adam character is so goddamn boring in the hands of The Rock. And I 100% guarantee it's because The Rock is like, I cannot play a bad guy. I need to be someone you can bring home to your grandmother. And it's like, this sucks. This fucking sucks. Fuck you and your billions of dollars and your football league. That's going to be a fucking embarrassment. And your goddamn Terramana tea with caffeine in it. Fuck off, Rock. I'm done. I'm fucking done. Fuck off, Dwayne. Get out of here, Dwayne. Fuck you. God damn it. He fucking sucks so goddamn hard, Kevin. Fuck him. Fuck you, Dwayne Johnson. God damn it. Fuck you, Dwayne Johnson. I'm done. I'm fucking done with you.
Tim's pointing at a poster of The Rock he has on his wall.
I am. I'm just pointing. I have the cast list up. I'm just looking at his bald, shrinkled up penis face. Like, fuck you, you piece of shit. He's got this like confident smile. It's funny because even the headshot that they have on Google, when you pull it up, his eyes lifeless. There is nothing going on in there. He's fucking. His dark shark eyes where they're just glazed over half the time. I mean, God, this guy is a superstar. I mean, he's the most charismatic. He's one of the most charismatic men on the planet. And you wouldn't be able to tell that from watching a single one of his movies.
It's wild. There's something about,
it's insane.
There's something about these guys, because you talking about this reminds me of the similar meltdown rejection you had of LeBron James after Space Jam: A New Legacy. And I think there's a lot of overlap there, because these guys hit this level of fame where it's like they become like a corporation in and of themselves. And The Rock has to start doing things. Sorry, Dwayne has to start doing things where he's like, I won't play the villain because that directly jeopardizes his ability to cross over with as many families as possible. And like that whole like too big to fail mentality, you just get to this point where you're this generic nothing. You have no opinions. You stand for nothing. You are just this thing that was launched into the atmosphere. You're like a satellite. You're launched there by some sort of momentum. And then you've reached this place. And it's like all they're doing from that point is just firing these little booster rockets to keep themselves oriented. And it was John Cena that did the apology in Mandarin, right? For saying that Taiwan was a country.
Oh, I think so. Well, John Cena is like a legit smart guy. John Cena is somehow a way better actor than The Rock.
Oh,
I did not see that coming at all.
No question.
John
whatsoever.
Cena's incredible.
John Cena's a very good actor.
To your point, I was listening to like the Bill Simmons pod, I think recently, and he had someone on talking about, Kyrie Irving and like the NBA and how all these guys, basically the premise was like athletes nowadays feel this pressure to be a corporation. Mm-hmm. They want to come across as professionals, businessmen. I am an enterprise. I'm a businessman. I'm getting my work done, because they want to be respected. And for so long, they were told, listen, you're a dumb jock, just play, shut up and dribble, like all this negative stuff. And so their comeback to that is like, they're very professional. They're not saying anything. They're cultivating these like personalities that are like very sheen and boring. And this guy gave the example of like, nowadays it's like all about LeBron and he doesn't say anything and he's boring as heck. But like years ago, like Allen Iverson changed the culture. Like people were imitating Allen Iverson. He was one of the most famous people on the planet. I mean, even if you didn't follow basketball, you knew who Allen Iverson was. And he was like just a guy. Like it was cool that he wasn't pretending to be this thing. He was a very relatable human being who also happened to be amazing at basketball. And I think now with like athletes, especially getting to like podcasting and things, they know they're interesting, but they don't know why they're interesting. And it seems like that's the problem with like The Rock is like, it's cool to be Allen Iverson and be like a real person with like flaws and like interesting and like a human being. Like we like that from our celebrities. We don't want to just see a blank sheen. We don't want to see nothing. I mean, I don't know. The Rock fundamentally doesn't understand what The Rock is exciting for.
Well, for real, it's because he's not allowed to do anything. If you don't do something and publicly fail at it, you exist in that gray area where you might be great at it. Maybe The Rock is the greatest painter of all time. We don't know because he's not painting. He could be awful. He could be George Bush, the current greatest painter of all time. We'll never know. It's like this thing where I guess the only thing I can map it onto is the corporation thing of too big to fail. Like the existence of social media, the existence of podcasts has to be the biggest threat to an individual's fame. It's like a double-edged sword because it's like, man, it can really skyrocket people. But also, if they say the wrong thing, if they accidentally say that Taiwan's a country, they've suddenly lost millions of dollars in revenue from China. Like that kind of thing. I mean, look at the reluctance of Disney to put LGBTQI plus characters in movies. And like, it's always resigned to just like a little peck on the cheek between characters that could be so easily cut out and removed so the movie could be released in Russia and China. Like people are terrified that they're going to do something that's going to lose them any kind of money. And I think it's different for The Rock than it was for Allen Iverson because I looked this up. It happened to be on the way back from Black Adam, but I wasn't actually hunting for this information. I was trying to figure out who the most famous person in the world is. Like if any research had been done on who currently is the most famous person in the world. And they claim it's The Rock. They claim that The Rock is the most famous living human being, followed by Elon Musk and then Jeff Bezos, which makes sense. Like people would be Googling all the time, who's the richest man on earth and coming up with either one of those, depending on what day it is. But the fact that The Rock is number one, I mean, you're in a completely different level And I'm sure that's something that he wants to maintain. Like, if you hit that high, like, what would it feel like to come down from that? God forbid either one of us ever get there. It's like it would have to be a horrible thing to have in your life, because I would imagine you feel completely dedicated to it. So the fact that he is so bland and so afraid of offending people doesn't surprise me. But I guess it does surprise me then that he so badly wanted to make Black Adam, which is a character who is a bad guy. He's an anti-hero. But like, through the lens of most heroes that are operating in the comics, he is pretty clearly a bad guy and is often framed as a bad guy. He shows a lot of overlap with Namor and Marvel comics, where it's like, this is a person with his own intentions, his own motivations, and has his own commitments and is willing to do whatever it takes to follow through with those commitments. That involves killing a lot of people and taking a lot of firm stances. And I don't really think, I mean, Black Adam killed a lot of people in this, but the way that he was killing people was like, there was absolutely no, he was killing people the way that you might like swat mosquitoes. You know, it's like,
yeah,
theoretically, he was being driven as a character by the desire to, you know, save these kids and save Kahndaq and get it back to some state that he used to be in. And he felt very indebted to his son, who was Black Adam before him, or was someone before him. I don't know what his son's name was. But I didn't get the feeling when he was doing all this stuff that he had a greater purpose that he was necessarily fighting toward, outside of the fact that, like, yeah, he wanted to help this kid. He wanted to help the kid and the kid's mom. And it felt like the way children role play as superheroes. It felt like the way that, like, kids in a basement would be like, well, I'm the Green Lantern, and so I punch you and it's double hard, you know?
Yeah. And I think the fact that The Rock is like the most famous person in the world, obviously, you know, we're all just like, you know, you got to be a bad guy, be funny, be yourself. But you're right. He has more to lose than pretty much anybody. Right. Yeah. So you'd think there's, you know, if he did something wrong or like he effed something up and had to apologize, like maybe that would ruin. I mean, I don't know what The Rock could actually do to get everybody to be like, I'm against The Rock now.
Yeah.
Because churning out mediocre movies isn't one of those things. I mean, but I guess where I'm sitting, I'm like, you could play a bad guy. It's okay to play a bad guy, you know, like Marvel. I mean, Marvel does this well, where like Josh Brolin is playing Thanos and then he's out promoting the movie.
Yeah.
And like being himself and being goofy on the Late Show or whatever it is. Like people know, people understand that these are actors and they're playing a role and it's okay. So I guess I'm confused why The Rock can't be a bad guy in something. Why can't he be kind of a bad guy, even like a reluctant, like he starts out as a bad guy and then like kind of becomes good, or like why can't he have some kind of an arc with attitude to it? I don't see how that would affect him, but maybe it's too big a risk for him. Clearly he views it as too big of a risk.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's the idea that an image existing of him doing something bad would somehow topple his entire empire, even with the understanding that he is a character. But like, I'm thinking about this now, and I'm trying to decipher why I feel so strongly that he wasn't playing like, I guess, like a bad person in Black Adam, despite the fact that if you look at the narrative, he's just relentlessly murdering people in this movie.
He's not a bad guy in Black Adam. He only kills bad guys.
Well, do you think the reason behind it, like being so clear, is because what are they called? Intergang? First off, the company has gang in the title. I know it's from the comics. Fucking change it.
Right.
It's dumb as shit. do you think it's because the bad guys were so clearly over the top bad guys and occupiers, and like there's no possible read of them being like a source of good? Do you think that's why it reads so much like he's not actually being an anti-hero? Because he's just being a murderous hero. Like you would think he's basically the Punisher here, because he's just killing bad guys, whereas Spider-Man or Batman would stop short of killing the bad guys. And yet there's such a gap for me in my brain between the Punisher and Black Adam. Like his Black Adam feels so sanitized somehow, and I don't know why.
I mean, I think Marvel's done a great job of like, the Avengers kill a lot of people. The Avengers are just constantly murdering people. They love it. They have so much blood on their hands. It's insane. And yet we don't think of that when we think of the Avengers. It's like squeaky clean Captain America. And it's like, yeah, he just threw a motorcycle at these guys and it blew up. Like they didn't survive that. They're not okay after that. Like letters are getting sent to families because he threw that motorcycle, like like grandparents are opening the door and crying, like, I don't know, because of the acts that Captain America did. But we're just like, oh, cool. It's nice that Steve Rogers showed up. That's pretty chill. He's squeaky clean. So I don't see killing bad guys as like a bad thing. I mean, name another bad thing he did. He didn't do anything bad. There's a country that is clearly being overrun by a gang. He killed the gang, which are the bad guys. And that's it. That's all he did that was bad. He broke some walls, but I mean, that happens for everybody, I mean, the Hulk went crazy and just like murdered a whole village pretty much. So like, and he's redeemable, and people are excited to see like Bruce Banner, like in the She-Hulk movie, like the She-Hulk show. So he didn't do a single bad thing. I mean, he's not a bad guy. The only bad thing he did, which is why everyone is so scared of him, is he basically destroyed the oppressive regime that was enslaving the people of that land, whatever, 5,000 years ago. And he lost his cool and he destroyed everything. And they're like, oh my God, you mean you killed the guy who basically doomed your son to death and oppressed all of your people and turned the entire family into slaves and directly led to your son's death? And it's like, yeah, of course he did. Wouldn't most of us try to do that if we could, if we had the power to, if somebody had wronged our entire nation and our family and taken loved ones from us, and we had the power to like go after them and like get justice? I think a lot of us would. So it's hard to make that a bad. He's not a bad guy. He did nothing really. He did nothing objectively evil in this movie. He didn't. And but the kills were cool. I think the killing was awesome. Honestly, that's when I started like turning around on this. The fight scenes in this, I want to do some thieves. We've just been shitting on this movie so much.
I think you're a thief.
I think the fight scenes are cool. I think the fight scenes were neat. I like that Black Adam just like straight up murders people. It seems maybe a little too effortless for him, but it was kind of refreshing to just see a movie where he is just, disintegrating people with lightning, whipping them all over the place, just smashing them to the ground. I thought it was great. The team that comes in, God, honestly, I really just want to talk about Hawkman and Dr. Fate too.
Yeah, please. Let's do it.
Dr. Fate, phenomenal, insane, so good. Stealing this. I mean, clearly the best actor in this, Pierce Brosnan. Phenomenal. So fun. So great. He's got a character arc. He has stakes. He makes a sacrifice. There's nothing to not love about this guy. Hawkman, I liked the character. It felt like I think you pointed this out when we were watching, is like, he's like a conglomerate of like all these other Marvel characters. He's like kind of Black Panther, kind of Tony Stark, doing this like fun technology thing that is like making him better. But he's also like kind of like a secret agent, like kind of like Black Panther, wearing a tux and like going into that like underground game or whatever it was. And it doesn't feel original, but it was fun. And I liked him as an actor. I thought, I don't know. I liked it. I didn't hate it. I liked the interpretation of the guy. I was shocked that he was able to like just fight Black Adam in hand-to-hand combat. That doesn't make sense. I don't see how that's right. But I mean, what'd you think of the rest of the heroes we got to see in this?
I thought they were fun. I thought the actual group of people that they put together to go fight Black Adam made no sense at all. Absolutely no sense. No disrespect to Noah Centineo or who was the other the person that played
Quintessa
I think
Swindell
Cyclone was their name.
I think she's done like Euphoria and stuff like that. Cyclone.
Yeah, they were great.
So she is a relative of the Red Tornado,
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it said on the entry screen. It kind of makes sense. They made a reference to the evil doctor. I don't think it's Dr. Morrow. I think Dr. Morrow is the one that created Red Tornado.
I don't know.
I guess she's Red Tornado's daughter or something. But yeah, I thought both those characters were fun. But if you're, going off to take down the most powerful being from 5,000 years ago, it doesn't really make sense to bring them in instead of Superman, if Superman's at your disposal. I kind of wish that it had been treated more along the lines of what we've talked about with Jaws and disaster movies, where you lean into the fact that Black Adam is untouchable. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to even slow this guy down. And I wish the Justice Society had realized that earlier and basically then been in a place where it's like, okay, can we reason with the tornado? Like, obviously none of us can touch this guy. But instead, we got a couple scenes where they still tried to restrain him. Hawkman still tried to go toe-to-toe, still tried to take this to a physical place. And it's like, it's not going to work. It's absolutely not going to work.
Yeah, the characters are dumb. Like, they keep pounding Black Adam. You're an evil person. You have to come with us. You can't kill people. And then they made a great point. Like, one of the characters is just like, listen, our country's been terrorized by this gang for hundreds of years now. And you haven't done anything to help it. He's the first guy to do anything to help us. And all of a sudden he's the bad guy. Like, I think that's a great argument. I think that's an awesome argument. And that should be like the thesis statement of the movie. And I don't think it is. For some reason, Black Adam or Hawkman keeps wanting to fight Black Adam. Dr. Fate is kind of like better than all of it. And the two kids are flirting. Like, that's kind of like the dynamic of the group. And it's fine.
It just comes across as though he's doing the right things for the right reasons. When I think to be more of an anti-hero, like this character was billed as. It's not like we're just pulling this out of nowhere and being like, well, in the comics. It's like, this is how this character was billed. It should be more along the lines of he's doing the wrong things for the right reasons, right?
Right. If you're going to make an anti-hero. I mean, honestly, Hawkman is a better anti-hero than Black Adam was.
Yeah.
He's a dick. He doesn't care about the people that Black Adam's helping. All he cares about is the job.
Right.
And he's willing to sacrifice himself for his team. He has friends that he cares about. He has passions. He has wants. He has desires. He cares about the people he's with. He is a human being, but the job comes first, and he is laser focused on his goal. And that is a brilliant, flawed, complex character that I would like to see a movie about.
Yeah. Oh, I'd take more Hawkman in a second.
I'd watch more of this. I mean, I'm kind of bummed that they only grabbed like 4 people. You don't have 5 because like Dr. Fate and Hawkman are talking about how they've like served together for years. And they're like, we've been friends forever. We've been on this team. We're the Justice Society. They say the Justice Society or whatever it is, like constantly, like it's like we mean something. The government knows us. We've been around. We're big. And as far as I can tell, it's 2 people. And then they just recruited these 2 kids. And that's the whole Justice Society.
It was the 2 of them and Henry Winkler. And then Henry Winkler aged out.
So it was 3 people?
I guess.
That was it? That was the Justice Society?
There's so many we could have gotten. I mean, Justice Society. I subscribed to Justice Society for a while. There's a ton of heroes in there that are a lot of fun. Wildcat, Ted Frame, Wildcat Grant. Yeah. Oh my God, so much fun. Love Wildcat.
To ground level for this, he would get murdered instantly against Black Adam.
But if there's any character that would make sense as someone who's like, yeah, I don't care, I'll fucking fight him, like Wildcat, absolutely.
Right. Also is like a lifer in the society, right? Like, yeah. It's such a missed opportunity. It'd be great to see something else. Hopefully Dr. Fate comes back. I mean, they could go back and they could do a prequel with the Justice Society, and I'd be here for it. You know,
yeah.
We see how half of them died and why there's only 2 guys left. Do it. I mean, do a Justice Society prequel. Get us the Red Tornado, get Henry Winkler in a costume, and like go save the world from something. I have no idea, but you're right. But as far as the power levels is concerned too, it's like that's also why Black Adam is the villain, right? Mm-hmm. Shazam exists in this world. Shazam existed as a character. They needed somebody for Shazam to fight who's on Shazam's level. They create Black Adam. Like he's an antithesis to an already like incredibly overpowered superhero. And then he fights Superman. They team up against him, whatever. I mean, he's an antithesis to like the highest power levels of DC superheroes. So having him on his own, struggling in a world the same way Superman does, is also it's just redundant. Superman who kills isn't like enough for me. You know, what are the ramifications of that? How do the people around him react to that? Is he a hero? I mean, it seems like he is a hero in that town, but I don't know. This is a B movie. This is a B movie. I think it's worth an HBO watch because the fights are crazy. Things are shiny. Hawkman's great. Pierce Brosnan's awesome. Even like the kids are cool. The Cyclone's powers are neat. They do cool things in it. They've got these shiny bikes that fly really fast. I was surprised by how much action there is. They don't know what else to do. Clearly, they have nothing else going on in this movie, but the action was like constant. And you made a great comment too. Maybe we can wrap it up on this. You made a great comment that this movie was like a string of TikTok videos.
That's exactly what I wanted to bring up next.
Yes.
Ironically, I'm bringing up something about timing after we're already over time for this episode. But this was, I'm going to say, the first movie ever that I've seen that was cut like a TikTok. I do not think it'll be the last. I would not be shocked if they played this movie back with all of the scenes being bumped up to like 2% faster than they were recorded. I don't necessarily think the actors were delivering these lines at this pace. They do this thing with the way that it's cut where they will drop in a character's reaction and cut to another character before a person has even finished saying their entire line. Because it feels like this movie does not have time to do anything but show you The Rock smashing people's face into like sandstone buildings. We both felt like this was an 8-hour movie that they shrunk down to 2 hours. It's preposterous how fast-paced this movie goes. I think maybe the only movie I've seen that has more cuts than this is the Baz Luhrmann Great Gatsby, which is just a headache to watch. It's insane. There's like 15 cuts a minute or something nuts.
I mean, this is almost like hard to watch a little because like it doesn't, the pacing in this is crazy. The tone in this is crazy because there's constant stakes, right? They're constantly like, okay, this is a fight. How's he going to do it? He beats it. Okay, here's a stake. We beat it. Here's a thing. We beat it. Here's a thing. We figure it out. Like constantly. So after a while, you're just numb for it. Yeah. And you're just scrolling through TikTok. You know, it's just like, it's all kind of the same shit. By the end of the movie, I'm like, yeah, there's no stakes. Black Adam's going to save the day. It's all going to be fine. Everything will work out. Like, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's too much.
It's too
much going on. I don't know.
And honestly, that's how I feel about the movie overall. It's just too much.
Hopefully this podcast wasn't too much.
Hey, hopefully. What do you think? Did you think Black Adam was bad? Did you think Black Adam was good? Do you think The Rock is bad? Or do you think The Rock is good? Let us know. Shoot us an email, nerdyfor30@gmail.com. Rate us 5 stars wherever you're listening. Tim, you got any final words you want to say about this one?
No.
Yeah. Hey, me neither.
I do like that the only questions are, is this good or is this bad? Like, everyone listening to this is stupid and they can only think in binaries. You know, we can do a written question on Spotify. We can get paragraph answers if you want.
All right, cool.
Message us. Send us an email. The phone lines are open. We'll let you talk for as long as you send us, I guess.
That's true. That's the thing about us.
Yes.
We're always open to hearing what you have to say. We'll be back here next week with RRR on Netflix. Until then, stay nerdy, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay nerdy. Bye.